Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to be building a headache rack, and the whole beginning of this video I'm going to show you all the dimensions. If you want to build one yourself, you can do that. If you don't, just skip ahead to where the music starts and enjoy the video. So this is what I designed up. This is just Fusion 360. I'm not very good at it, but I can get by. It just takes me a long time. So this is what it's going to look like. There's like a side view. Here's my base mounting points, my gussets, upright beams. You can see that these are all 45'd here, and that's how I'm going to run my tubing, so it's a little thicker. It'll look, I think it looks a little cleaner. There's the front, so it's kind of got to cut out for the back. So it's kind of got to cut out for the dome light, but at the same time I make my headache racks to where the top of this is basically flush with the top of the cab, maybe a ½ inch more. It looks a lot cleaner when you do it that way. And then when you're standing behind it or you're parked behind it in another car, you can still see most of the dome light through this section anyways. My truck doesn't have a sliding rear window, but I like the cutouts anyways, so that when you're looking through your rear view mirror, you're not seeing the expanded metal as much. I also like to basically run almost angle iron right here. This is 5" 3/16 and then 1.5" 3/16. I like to run those on it so that when you weld onto here, it doesn't bump it up. It stiffens up the whole thing. You don't have to run 1/4" plate, and it's just a little more structural. It's really nice. So my dog ears also, I've learned the hard way that you want to have 49.5 if you can. If it's a wider truck like a full size like mine, you can run 49.5 inches between the dog ears, and that way you can load sheets of plywood or metal right in between here, and you won't have to have it canted off on them or just run them through the back of your tailgate. So that's what I wanted. That was the main thing. And the way that I figured out these dimensions is I measured up, I think it was 22, I'll show you the measurements in a minute. Measured up, got my top height, ran my bar the width that I wanted, then I just stood there and eyeballed with an angle finder on the back of my truck and found 67 degrees, looked really nice, but then when I did it on the computer, 67 would make this guy right here super short, and it looked goofy, so I changed it to 70. And it still looked real nice, and then it gave me enough of the cutout to where it kind of looks like a ProTech almost. And so that's what I decided to run there. Alright, so here's the dimensions. It might be overwhelming, but I like to have as many measurements as I can. So I've got all the angles here, 70 degrees from that base plate. 155, so 180 minus 55 is... Shoot, I didn't know I was doing math. 25 degrees. So then you just split 25 degrees, and that would give you 12.5. So that's what you'd cut that one at. 135, so that would give you 35, right? No, 45. Yeah, 45. So that's 22.5 degrees you'd cut that one at. And this is all 2" square tubing. So here's the overall length on the outside. So you can see this one's 49.5 like I was saying. And then the dog ears, I just 45'd them. And it went well since this is 45'd off of there. And then let's see what else. I usually leave like an inch gap in between here and there, because some of those bed liners will kind of bump up just a little bit, so I like to give myself just a little bit of room. And basically all this in here is just where I can weld onto. This is angle iron I ran down here, so I can weld the expanded metal to it. I don't have to get my expanded metal cut perfect because it's going to be on the back side. And then this just looks nice when it's on there, in my opinion. The only thing I think I'll change is I think I'll cut straight up right here. I think I'll 45 it till about there and then go up. But so if you need these measurements, just email me and I can send this file to you. Let's see. The other cool thing is these are the dog ears. It gives you the angle that you need to cut that width, and then how far up if you don't want to measure the angles, and it gives you the overall length to cut the piece also. That's what makes this super nice, is you can kind of draw everything up, see how it looks, and then if you cut everything to these dimensions, it'll work out great. The other thing that was nice about this is, so when it's 45, it's hard to see where your blade's gonna hit on the outsides or the insides, but you can see where it's hitting on these points, so you can actually get that measurement. So you can see from blade to there on that 45 and have that exact measurement, and that'll line up perfect. So this is for a 2006 F-150, but what I've found is basically this backside minus the base plate. So basically this will look good on almost any truck. So on, especially like F-250, especially the Ford ones, but on Chevys, some of the Dodges, your cab heights are really close to the same, and these angles seem to look good on most trucks. So you can build this outside one exactly the same, and then just fudge where it sits on your mounts. Normally, first thing I build on a headache rack are the mounts. So I'm just walking you through basically the step-by-step of what I do when I'm building it. So I'll build these mounts first, and then I'll set those aside. And then I'll build the actual rack. And I'll get this welded out. One thing you can do that'll help with warpage, I usually do this on at work. I didn't do it on here, but you can weld a piece of tubing to the bottom or tack it really good around once you have it tacked up, and then weld it out. And then after it cools down, you can cut those tacks off, and it usually doesn't move much. Sometimes it'll come in like 1/8 of an inch, but it doesn't matter that much, especially if you have all this internal gusseted in there before you cut those tacks off. So I'll do that rack. I usually TIG weld these, and then I'll grind and sand them flat, and it looks nice to me. If it was aluminum, I'd leave them mostly for the strength. Okay, so once I get this built, the next thing I usually do is I'll either put the ears on, the dog ears, or I'll put the back in. And then once you have the back in and it's tacked or welded on there nice, then I will, let's see, where is it? Put in the expanded metal on the back. Once that's all welded out, I'll put the base plates on the truck, place that up there, and tack it on. That way it's perfectly lined up. If you don't have the truck, you can always just square it and weld it on your table. But it's best to tack it while it's on the truck. Just don't weld it, because you'll have the plastic pieces down there and you're definitely going to ruin it. So that's the process I go through, or the order I go through in building my headache racks. So this is all the material I'm going to be using. I got some raised expanded metal. I don't need quite this much, but that's one section they had cut, so it's a little cheaper. I got some 3/4 inch flat bar. It's only 1/8 inch. 1.5 inch flat bar that's 3/16. Some 5-inch flat bar that's 3/16. Some 3/4 inch angle iron that's 1/8 inch. And then the main structure is going to be out of this. This is only 2 inch, and it's 1/8 inch wall. Reason I'm using this is because I'm going to be putting it at an angle. So it'll be, instead of flat dead on like that, it's going to be angled like 45. So that diagonal measurement will be about 2.5 inches. And I usually like my beams about 2.5. So I figured I'd try this 2 inch and see how it works out. And all these things, that's just a different project I worked on. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Headache racks are some of my favorite things to build. I don't know why, they're just a lot of fun. But this is my new favorite style, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. You can build them for your trucks or sell them, whatever. Alright, check out some of my other videos if you haven't, and subscribe and stay tuned for new videos. You guys have a good one.